Hello my Poke Padawans and hello PPL fans, I am Jedi Cadet and I am bringing you the Week 7 battle for the Miami Rotom Heat. In case you didn't know, I have recently become the caretaker coach, I think that's the right term, for the Miami Rotom Heat because Ethan unfortunately had to back out, so I was asked if I'd step in and take over the Miami Rotom Heat for the rest of their battles, at least until Ethan gets back. So I was honoured to be asked to do this. It's a privilege and it's really cool. It's really cool. So thank you to the guys that thought of me and asked me to join. So yes, I am bringing you the Week 7 battle for the Miami Rotom Heat. Now, our opponent this week was Troy of the Wycombee Wanderers. Looking at his team, he had a lot of threats. He had Mew, Suicune, Entei were the main three that stuck out in my mind. I mean, that in itself is a very, very scary trio. The Suicune Entei mix is absolutely terrifying. Mew, you never know what Mew wants to do. You'd also got Xatu, who's bulky as hell. I actually ran a lot of calcs during the building of the team, and I think the only thing that could do better than a 3-hit KO on Xatu was Banded Talonflame, and even that was a 2-hit KO. So Xatu could walk him for days. He's got Skarmory, who's just a pain because he's got a Toxic Hit and it takes all the hits. He also had Hitmontop, who's a great spinner. So yeah, a lot of threats on his team, a lot of threats. So because it was my first match, I was quite right. To start off with, we had a transfer window. So I came straight in on Ethan's team, had to take a look and had to come up with whether I wanted to make a transfer or anything. So I dropped Hariyama for Lapras, which to a lot of people is probably a questionable play, but Hariyama didn't really do much. This is in my opinion, doesn't really do much that there wasn't already something doing on the team. We'd already got Fighting type in Mega Lopunny and Poliwrath. We'd already got Fake Outer in Lopunny. We had basically everything it could do, something else could do as well. So I dropped Hariyama and I brought in Lapras because I noticed that there was no Heal Bell user on the team. And I've used Lapras a lot in the past, and I've always had pretty good results with this. I mean, Assault Professor Lapras is really good. Substitute Dragon Dance Lapras is no slouch either. You've got the Perish Song to threaten things out. Lapras can do a lot. I mean, it doesn't take the hits as well as I'd like against the higher tier threats like Entei and such, but it can sit it on it. It can set up and deal them back. It can act support. So Lapras is. I was pretty happy with Lapras. Lapras. So anyway, let's get into the team that I brought. The first Pokemon that I decided to bring this week was Fortress, because I noticed against his team he had Skarmory, he had Xatu, he had Entei, all three of whom don't appreciate Stealth Rocks, and any other hazards I can get on top would be great. Suicune does not appreciate being toxic, so we've got Toxic Spikes on there. Probably could have just run Toxic itself, but that Toxic Spikes gives me the ability to poison the entire team rather than just one at a time. I mean, Fortress doesn't really want to be sitting in on an Entei to try and Toxic it, does it, even with Sturdy? So we've got Specially Defensive Fortress with a Rocky Helmet. Bold Nature, just give it a tiny bit more in defense. It was actually supposed to be, I think it was Careful Nature, but I derped and put the Nature in wrong on Showdown. And when I asked, shout out to Chaos in the Sky, by the way, for genning the Pokemon for me, and shout out to Bluesy for getting me a couple of items I needed afterwards. But yeah, I wanted the plus Special Defensive Nature, but I messed up, so we got Bold instead. But Bold's not a bad nature. 8 special attack just for the Volt Switch. Sturdy because just to give it a chance to do anything rather than being OHKO'd by a Fire type move, by Entei or whatever, or if anything wants to run my Hidden Power Fire. So yeah, we've got Fortress with the Rookie Helmet. The next Pokemon on the team is Gligar. We've got physically defensive Gligar because I was talking to Ethan and he brought up the fact that I've got nothing. I had nothing on my team that wanted to switch in on Entei, which meant once it was in, that was it. I was done. It could basically run through my entire team. So I needed something that could switch in on it. So we've got Gligar. We've got physically defensive Gligar with the Eviolite. 80 attack just for the Earthquake. Hyper Cutter. Don't quite know why I went for Hyper Cutter over immunity, over poison immunity, because that would have meant nothing could toxic us. But Impish Nature for the positive defense. Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Roost and Defog, because Defog allows us to get rid of any hazards that Skarmory wants to set up. Possibly Xatu. I think Xatu might get Stealth Rocks as well. Can't remember. Roost is there just to recover, for recovery. Earthquake to deal damage in their Stealth Rocks, like I say. We want Stealth Rocks because it damages about half his team. I mean, obviously the main problem with this that Xatu has the Magic Bounce. So if the Xatu came, I really needed to get rid of it as fast as I could. But like I said, the only thing that could do better than a 3 KO was Choice Banded Talonflame. That was on this. I was calcing both specially defensive and physically defensive Xatu. Specially defensive takes all the special hits. Physically defensive obviously soaks up all the hits. Gligar can't even damage Xatu because Earthquake's its only move. But you can't run Toxic because it just bounces it back at you. But anyway, the next Pokemon on the team is Haunter. Haunter, I kind of brought Haunter with Suicune in mind because I don't really have much to directly combat Suicune. I have no electric types, I have no grass types. So Haunter was kind of my direct response to Suicune. Now I know what you're thinking, but Haunter doesn't kill Suicune. It's what, 2-hit KO at best with Choice Blades, which is why I have Destiny Bond and the Giga Drain. I have the Giga Drain as well. So yeah, 252 special attacker speed, Haunter with a timid nature. I probably could have given it modest nature in retrospect because it was always going to outspeed Suicune anyway. I think Haunter outspeeds everything that isn't choice banded on his team, with the possible exception of Entei. So yeah, anyway, we've got timid nature for positive speed, 4 HP, levitate because it's the only ability Haunter can get. We've got Shadow Ball for stab, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb for Mega Gardevoir, but because Mega Gardevoir was paying, it could literally destroy my entire team. I calced it, and I think Hyper Voice kills 2.5 Mega Lobunies, so that's no fun for anyone. And then we've got the Destiny Bond, because that was kind of my thinking for Suicune. We come in, and then we kill off the Suicune with the Destiny Bond, and that'll be the end of an annoying wall. The next Pokemon on my team is Keldeo, because Keldeo is absolute power on this team. It would be silly not to run it because it's such a powerful Pokemon. It's not very bulky, but it can certainly deal damage. We've got 252 special attack speed, 4 in attack with a hasty nature, which is minus defense. Aqua Jet for a bit of priority if we need it, because Entei does carry the extreme speed. We've got Calm Mind, Secret Sword, and Hydro Pump. So basically the thinking here was, if we can come in, set up some Calm Minds, I can basically steamroll through his team and deal as much damage as I can before anything. I can basically come in and steamroll through his team. Leftovers for that tiny bit of recovery as well, because you never know when it's going to come in handy. The next Pokemon on the team is Mega Lopunny, because Mega Lopunny is just a powerhouse on the team. It really is. It does so much damage to everything. 252 attack, 240 in speed. We didn't even max because again, we had speed everything. We've got Adamant Nature for a bit extra, for that bit extra attack power. 16 HP just to maybe take a hit a little bit better. Fake Out because there's literally no reason not to have Fake Out. High Jump Kick for maximum damage. Facade. Now, for some reason, I thought he has Rotom Cut, Rotom Grass, the lawnmower one. So that has a potential to burn us, which is not good. My thinking was, that even if I get burned, it won't cripple Mega Lopunny. Because basically, if you've got a big physical hitter and it gets burned, that's basically it out of the game. So I wanted Facade just in case we get burned. In retrospect, it was a stupid idea because I think Rotom is literally the only thing that can burn us. So I would have done better with Return probably, but we've got Facade just in case we got burned, and we've got Thunder Punch because it deals good damage to Suicune, Skarmory and Xatu instead of Ice Punch, because the only thing that really fears the Ice Punch is Golurk, and I wasn't really expecting the Golurk to appear anyway, so yeah. And then the sixth Pokemon on the team is Talonflame. 252 attack and speed, 4 attack and special attack. Gale Wings obviously with a naughty nature, which is minus defense, I think. Positive attack, negative defense, I think. Got Brave Bird, Overheat, U-turn and Taunt. U-turn, I bought that specifically for Mew and Xatu. I did actually think it would do slightly more damage than the calcs told me it would, but I think in every single scenario, Brave Bird is better than U-turn. Which makes sense really, because I think U-turn is only what, 60 power? Base 60. So Brave Bird, obviously, because it's Talonflame, why wouldn't you run Brave Bird? Overheat was specifically for Skarmory, because I expected Skarmory to be physically defensive, so it could soak up the Brave Birds, maybe Flare Blitzers as well, and then just set up Stealth Rocks and Whirlwind and all the rest of the naughty shenanigans that it likes to do. And I've also got Taunt, so that we can taunt the Skarmory, taunt the Suicune, taunt the Xatu, stuff like that, because Taunt's always useful in every scenario. So yeah, that's basically the team. So yeah, it's my first time doing one of these guys, so I know it's not going to be like amazing, it's not going to be like 100% quality, but I'm doing my best for you guys. I spent 3 hours doing easy effects, so I hope you guys are happy with them. So with that all done, that's the team. We've got Fortress, Gligar, Haunter, Talonflame, Mega Lopunny and Keldeo. So like I said, the main things I really feared on his team were Mew, who I think a couple of people said that it would probably be Scarf if he brought it. Suicune was a problem. Entei, the only thing to switching on Entei was Gligar. Xatu could basically stop setting up the hazards, which were really important. The hazards were kind of like my main offense for this game. I needed to get the hazards up to stand chance, because the hazards can deal the damage and stop him from switching in on everything too much, which means I can react more. I could potentially react more accordingly, bring in Pokemon what he needs to do, and he wouldn't be allowed to instantly counter switch me, bring in Pokemon to check whatever I brought in. Hazards were important, is what I'm trying to say. So Xatu needed to go. Hypnotop's a pain because it can spin them all away. Xatu gets Defog. I didn't really want to run the Defog on Gligar, because that means if he sets hazards, then I have to Defog on my own away as well. But I couldn't really afford for Fortress to be my only spinner. Fortress does have Rapid Spin, although I don't think I said that when I brought it up. So I got Fortress with Rapid Spin and Gligar with Defog, because I really don't want the Rocks up with Talonflame on the team. And I don't think Haunter really appreciates them either, because Haunter's not a Pokemon. It's got the Sash. We need to keep the Sash intact, because that's really important to the Destiny Bond strategy for anything other than Suicune, to be honest. So yeah, with that said, let's get into the battle. So as you can see, he brought Suicune, Hypnotop, Xatu, Golurk, Entei, and something else, I just missed it. So this is us against the Wycombee Warriors. I started out with Talonflame, thought he might open with Skarmory, which he did. Jedi predictions come through. He didn't want to sit in on a Flare Blitz, obviously. He brought his Suicune, split to the fire move. I didn't really want to over-predict too much at this point, so I just went straight up for the Overheat, which is unfortunate because it did reveal that I had the special fire type attack rather than the physical one. So he has that knowledge for against me in the future. The Suicune then goes for a Scald, I believe. We lose some HP to the Life Orb. I go for the U-turn, which probably wasn't a smart play because it does nothing to Suicune and we take more Life Orb recoil. But anyway, we switch out. He goes for the Scald, and expecting that I bring in my direct Suicune counter, which was Haunter. So he Scalds me, gets me down to 9 hit points. That didn't bring us down to Sash, it was a critical hit. Can we appreciate that for a second? He switches out at this point. I wasn't sure why he switched out, because Haunter can't do much to him. But I did reveal the Destiny Bomb at this point, so now he knows that he doesn't... I'm assuming he was going to go for a Psychic type attack, so he switches out his Xatu, not wanting it to be Destiny Bomb, knowing that it's important to stop any hazards, because he's already seen the Fortress and the Gligar on my team in the team preview. He brings in Skarmory to soak the hit, but we do 50% damage with that Shadow Ball. That is powerful, so I decided to stay in a little bit longer with Haunter and go for another Shadow Ball, because I don't think there's anything with priority on his team that can hit Haunter. Street Speed on Entei, which doesn't affect us because it's normal on a Ghost. He brought in Bromets for the hit on top. I kind of feared Pursuit on this thing, but I didn't have a lot of other options. I didn't want Haunter to die just yet, so I hard switched it out into Rigby the Gliss, into the Gligar, because I want to try and get the rocks up. He did predict this. No, wait, I didn't get the rocks up. No, that's right. He switched the same turn I switched. I went straight up for the rocks. He saw that coming and then brought his Xatu in, and it magic bounced them onto my side. So that's not good for me, because that means Talonflame is essentially crippled, and Haunter will be dead on re-entry. So I really need to get rid of those rocks. He goes for Hidden Power. I'm not sure what Hidden Power type that was, because it does neutral damage. I was fearing the Ice, to be honest, but it did neutral damage, so obviously it wasn't Ice. I don't know what it was. So I go for the Defog. He magic bounces it, but it doesn't matter because it works both ways anyway. Then he goes for the Nightshade. I went for Roost here to scout out what he might want to do, fearing the Psyshock. So I went for the Roost to scout about. He used Nightshade, which at this point made me think that it was the only kind of offensive move he had. So I figured it'd be safe to switch into Lopunny. Turns out I was wrong. He was baiting me with the Nightshade. Probably also knowing that I was physically defensive, so Psyshock wouldn't do as much damage. So he goes for the Psyshock. Fortunately, this is the first time Lopunny come on the field, so he weren't Mega. If we had been Mega Evolved on that turn, I'm pretty sure the Psyshock would have killed us. So he switches out his Xatu, not wanting to take an Ice Punch. I Mega Evolve Lopunny because I have to. It's the draft. And go straight up for the Fake Out because there's no reason not to. No reason not to first turn Fake Out with anything that has it. Skarmory then reveals that it has the Rocky Helmet, which brings us down into the range where any other hit on this Skarmory will kill Lopunny. So I don't want Lopunny dead. I switch out into Fortress to try and get rid of these Stealth Rocks. He takes the opportunity to Roost, knowing that I'd either hit him and be killed by the Rocky Helmet, or he'd get a chance to get HP back. So that was a good play on his part. So I think I go for the Rapid Spin here with Fortress to get rid of the... No, I double switch. I double switch with the Volt Switch. So we do some decent damage to Xatu with the Volt Switch there, and then I switch back into Haunter because that was a turn that he switched into that. So that brings us on neutral speed, meaning we'd get a hit on Haunter. I go for the Shadow Ball. I honestly expected him to switch, but he didn't. And I managed to get rid of the Xatu, which was huge. It means I can now come in and set up all the hazards that I want. So I switch out Spook, knowing that I won't be able to KO this thing because I did 50% damage with the Shadow Ball last time. He then goes for his own Stealth Rocks, which isn't really that great because Talonflame is again crippled. It also means that Haunter is again dead on entry. I didn't want to over-predict to go for the Overheat again because the Suicune switch is pretty obvious. He brings in Entei at this point. Oh no, I taunted, sorry, I taunted. Yeah, I taunted to try and stop it doing anything else, so I feared it might Toxic, or Whirlwind, or something like that. So I went for the taunt. He brought in Entei, so taunt was useless because Entei doesn't ever set up with anything, I don't think. So I go for a U-turn because Talonflame can't really do much to this. And even if I went for a Brave Bird, it's going to kill me with an Extreme Speed or a Stone Edge next turn. He then goes for Sacred Fire. I bring in Gligar because I really want to get my rocks up on his end. So he hits me with Sacred Fire. Second one burns me, which is unfortunate because that means Gligar's going to go down this turn. I get my Stealth Rocks up though, which is pretty nice. Figuring at some point I'll be able to bring in Fortress and spin away the rocks on my side. So I brought in Keldeo now because I don't think this thing wants to stay in on a Keldeo. Stone Edge is resisted, Sacred Fire is resisted. So knowing that he's going to switch, I went for a Calm Mind. He switches it to Suicune, which is problematic because it resists our Hydro Pump Stab, and without any boost, Secret Sword is nowhere near powerful enough to kill this thing. At this point, I went for a really ballsy play. I decided to stay in and Calm Mind for a second time, fully aware that he might be packing the extra sensory. So I stayed in, went for another Calm Mind, and he goes for the Scald. Obviously he was fishy for the burn. Now the burn wouldn't affect us too much, other than putting us on a timer, because all of Keldeo's attacks, apart from Aqua Jet, are special. So we're not going to lose any power from a burn. So he goes for the Scald, doesn't get a burn. I'm now at +2 special attack and special defense thanks to the Calm Mind. I go for another one. I kind of still feared the extra sensory, but I thought because he got for Scald last time, you might go for it again. You might have the extra sensory, so I went for a second one. Get up to +3. He goes for another Scald. He doesn't get the burn. Doesn't get the burn. So we get a bit of leftovers recovery. So at this point I'm sitting at +3, I think. So not wanting to risk any more burns. So I don't really want this thing on a timer if I can avoid it. I go for the Secret Sword. I think that was two or three Scalds that he didn't get a burn on. So that was really unfortunate for him. That's kind of a little bit hacksy maybe. So we managed to take down Suicune with a +3 Secret Sword, which is awesome. He brings in Entei next, who's got the Extreme Speed. So he goes for the Extreme Speed because Keldeo can't really take hits that well. It takes us down to half health. So another one of those is going to kill us. I go for the Hydro Pump. I was kind of fearful of the miss here, but fortunately we managed to hit it. And we get a crit, which I don't think mattered because we were a +3. So we take down Entei, which is huge. We get a bit of leftover recovery, which brings us back to above half. Then he brings in Skarmory, who I think is the bulkiest thing he has left on his team. So I go for the Secret Sword here. I could have gone for the Hydro Pump, which in hindsight probably would have killed this thing outright, but I didn't want to play the accuracy game. So I went for the Secret Sword, and he actually manages to finish off Keldeo with the Drill Peck, which is impressive, which makes me think that this thing has got some offensive investment. So Keldeo's gone down, but it's already made a pretty big dent in his team. He goes for Roost on Skarmory at this point, because it's faster than Fortress is, and we go for the Rapid Spin to get rid of the rocks, because at this point Lopunny was on low health, Haunter was on low health, Talonflame could come in on 1 rocks, but then it'd kill itself with a Brave Bird or any hit because of the Life Orb. So I had to get rid of the rocks, otherwise he still could have potentially taken the game. So Fortress was the only switch I had. I had to come and get rid of the rocks. He goes for Drill Peck, takes some Rocky Helmet damage, then we go for a Volt Switch, and it's a crit, which takes down Skarmory. The combination of that crit Volt Switch and the Rocky Helmet damage allows Fortress to take down Skarmory. So I switch out to Lopunny at this point because there's no reason not to. I think it can basically go through the rest of his team. It can basically clean up now. We don't have to fear the damage from the rocks. We don't have to fear the Rocky Helmet. He brings in Hitmontop for the Intimidate, which is a very sensible move on his part. I go for the first turn Fake Out. He protects because it's obvious. If I'd have gone for the first turn High Jump Kick, it would have killed Lopunny because it would have counted as a miss, would have carried on Crash, and would have killed Lopunny. So it was a really good play on his part. I then go for a high jump kick, it does a kill, he goes for the toxic and it misses. Which is really, really unfortunate for him, that really sucks for him, so hacks were kind of in my favour a little bit. And at that point he forfeited the game. But I think at that point I had it, because he'd missed a toxic. And Mega Lopunny could basically go through the rest of his team. That turn I'd gone for a Thunder Punch, not wanting to play the accuracy game with the high jump kick. So I think I was pretty much guaranteed a hit, and Golurk could have been a problem because Lopunny couldn't hit it, but then Talonflame could just come in and Brave Bird it. So yeah, I think I pretty much had the game at that point because Golurk was the only Pokemon he had left at that point. So that was a good game. That was a very, very good first game for me in the PPL. Sorry for my very convoluted commentary on this, guys. I'm not used to doing post comms. I used to do live comms when I Wi-Fi. It's the first Wi-Fi battle I've had in about 9 months. So, and it's my first post com for even longer. So yeah, I hope it's not been too bad for you guys. So that's been our week 7 battle for the Miami Rotom Heat in the PPL. We walk away with a win, which is awesome. Again, shout out to Chaos in the Sky for gemming the Pokemon for me. Shout out to Bluesy as well for fixing me up with a couple of items that I needed for the Mons. Next week, I believe we are against Parasect Germain, which I'm kind of excited about because on the outside, I was always rooting for Shroomi's team, and now I'm against it. Now I'm playing against it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting spin for me. So thank you for joining me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this match as much as I did, and I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ta!